Welcome to Page to Screen, the podcast where Nikki and Christina discuss books that were turned into movies and films that were adapted from books. As always, we do remind you that spoilers lay ahead. Now, we invite you to decide with us the age-old question, which is better, the book or the movie?
Dear Diary, welcome back to Page to Screen. Joining, as always, is my best friend, Christina.
0 cigarettes, 0 alcoholic beverages, 720 calories VG. Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm great. I like you just as you are.
Aww, we're the perfect match.
VG.
VG.
Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome back.
It's raining podcasts.
Yeah.
Like it's raining men, get
Yeah,
it?
I do, and I love it. See, I love you just as you are.
A dork.
If you couldn't tell, or if you didn't listen to the last episode, I don't know how you could tell if you didn't listen to the last episode. We are doing Bridget Jones's Diary.
Yay! Now, there is one person out there who just finished reading the book and just got so excited that they understand what we're talking about, but yeah, no.
Yeah. For everyone else, I think we lost them.
No, yeah, so today we're doing Bridget Jones's Diary, written by Helen Fielding, published 1996, loose interpretation of Jane Austen's 1813 Pride and Prejudice. It's written in diary format and follows our lead heroine, Bridget Jones.
Yep. I want everyone to remember this whole time we're talking about this, she's supposed to be in her 30s. I am in my 30s. I am Bridget Jones' age now.
I am too.
I did not read this when I was Bridget Jones' age.
Right, and that I was thinking about this. So for me, this was my first experience with Bridget Jones, although I am highly suspicious that I may have actually watched this movie, but I really did not remember any of it. It was just like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, but have I seen this? I think maybe. So this was my first time definitely reading it, and you said that this is like your third or fourth?
Yeah. You might have been confused about the movie because it stars anyone who's ever been British and been in other movies. Like anyone who's ever been in Notting Hill, Love Actually, the TV version of Pride and Prejudice, which is probably the far superior version of Pride and Prejudice. Everybody's in this movie. But yeah, this is...
Well, we're skipping a little bit with like some movie stuff, but one reason why is Richard Curtis. And like the whole time I was watching the movie, I thought this feels like a Richard Curtis movie. And lo and behold, he co-wrote it. Yep. So it's like a thumbprint of his to have some of those actors.
Yeah. Forever the same. And we'll get into that because I want to discuss something with you at the movie. But yeah, this is like my third or fourth time reading it, and I clearly recall reading this like senior year of high school, like when I would have had, that sort of formative conversation with myself about Bridget Jones. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm actually really interested in hearing how your take of the book is different from when you were a teen versus now, because I mean those are two completely different moments in womanhood, and I could see this book coming off differently at those 2 points in your life. Yeah. I can tell you when I pre-30s me reading it had, I felt like I related more to Bridget, I guess, because, she's going through all the same issues that everybody else is going through. It was also the Friends phenomenon situation with Bridget Jones when you read it when you're younger and you're like, this is what adulthood's going to be like. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to have a great circle of my urban family that I create myself, and we're going to call each other up and get emergency drinks when somebody's not feeling well, and I am going to be so good. I'm going to be on top of all my stuff. Like, I'm going to be a great chef and have all my friends over. And
Yeah.
that kind of idea about being an adult, I think at such a formative time in my life, reading it in high school, I was like, oh my God, it's just like Friends, but British. Like, I am going to be having the best time ever. And, I mean, we're not going to talk about the entirety of the book and how it related to me, because there's a lot of parts that didn't. But I think the idea of, like, when you're in high school, you are looking at other people and comparing yourself constantly. So I felt for Bridget in those moments where it was like, she is not fat at all. Let's get that out of the way right off the bat.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, because I remember when the movie came out, and I specifically remember when the movie came out and them talking about how Renee Zellweger had gained weight. And I remember just thinking, she's supposed to be bigger. And this whole time I thought that. And every time I saw her in commercials or like little bits from the movie, I thought it was so stupid because she's not fat. But now, reading the book and watching the movie, I don't necessarily think that that's exactly how you're supposed to take it.
Yeah.
Because she is like 130 pounds. I think she's 132. And it's like, I think that what it's really supposed to be is she's just average. She's like your average girl, but constantly chasing the idea of being skinny, which is only like 10, 15, 20 pounds away. And that's very different from her supposed to be like a plus size, woman, a, woman who actually is a full figured woman. Like, and I'm using all the terms that we hate, but
yeah.
Sorry. She's very, what was the, Rubenesque.
She's a Rubenesque form. Are we going back to Ready Player One already?
I suppose so. Yeah, she's not very Rubenesque.
Third book of the new year, and we're already quoting books from last year. I hate this.
No, I don't think she's supposed to be Rubenesque. And I thought, like, okay, I get that. Like, I get this, because I think all of us have been there where you're really close to what you think is supposed to be your ideal body weight, but you can never quite get past that like last few. But it's definitely a little bit of a hard pill to swallow at first.
It's very much like body dysmorphia.
It is very.
And I think that everyone has that moment where you look at yourself and like, you are healthy. You're eating right, you're exercising. But when you look at yourself, you're always going to find a fatal flaw, because somebody else, like, Bridget is really dependent on the love of her friends and the love of a lover. Like, the attention that she desires. And she thinks that the only way she can get that attention is through making herself look as good as humanly possible. And it's really interesting because Helen Fielding, who wrote Bridget Jones, actually started this as a column in a newspaper.
Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, once you find that out, it changes everything, because her columns were really about how, like, she criticized all these trends that people were doing. Like, there's this whole part in the book about feng shui. Cracks me up, because when you think about 1996, that was a big trend that people were like, I'm gonna feng shui my house to get all my chakras aligned and stuff. And it's like, just put the couch where it's supposed to be. Like,
well, the one that made me laugh is before her date with Daniel, when she starts, when she goes through everything she's doing. So she's tweezing, she is waxing, and then she says that she has to brush her body. And it's in the movie too, because I recently started doing those body brushes, and Carlos saw me do it not the first time, but early on when I got it. And he said, like, are you a horse? Because I'm just holding this brush in my hand. And so when I read her making fun of the brush, I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm a little bit Bridget too, I guess.
Yeah. I think there's
We're
a
all
little Bridget in everyone. Yeah. I mean, the thing that gets me the most in this book is, and it's later, it's towards like, almost towards the end-ish of the book. There's a part where she's talking to her friend Tom. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, during the entirety of the book, Bridget is fixated on her weight and like how 120 is so much better than 130. It's a 10-pound difference that probably doesn't really show on
Except in her head, yeah.
Yeah. And then she's talking to Tom, and he's like, "Oh, maybe I should go on a diet too. And how many calories should you be eating?" And she's like, 1,000 calories. And he's like, "You need 2,000 to live." And Bridget comes to this realization that she's been on a diet her entire life because of what we're reading and seeing. So I think that is where Bridget is still so, it still resonates with women today, because we're still being told that even though we have all this new body positivity, there's still negativity around body positivity. Like, you have to be a certain weight to be able to be positive about your body.
Well, I always laugh when I see people who are trying to be body positive about others, but it's like there was a very specific post I remember from a few years ago that was a guy, and he posted a picture of this model, and it was something like, "Women, be proud to show your curves." Now, the joke is, though, that the model that he posted was real thin, and she just happened to have a little bit of a butt, and she had what appeared to be like breast implants, which are fine. But it's just kind of funny. It's like, well, that's not hold up. That's not exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You're posting like a Suicide Girl model. Her body mass and her fat percentage is probably nil. This is not what we're talking about, but you're trying, so I applaud you, I guess.
Yeah, it's the standard for beauty is still either the Bridget Jones version, where you are calculating what you can eat in a day. I mean, look at Weight Watchers, Noom. Like, we've got ads constantly for Planet Fitness. We're being told every day, "Oh, you should only be eating this amount of food at these hours during the day. Here's a ton of diets that you should all be on to try and achieve the perfect body." Or on the other side, it's, you can be big, but your proportions still have to be exact. Yeah. Like, you can't have thick thighs and a tiny belly. That is not body positivity. That is not beautiful. Your thighs are too big. It doesn't match the rest of your body. You could have a big, giant stomach and tiny arms and tiny legs. You're not doing it. There is, and I think that's where this part of the book really gives you a deeper understanding of, like, why Bridget is the way she is. We've forced these 1,000-calorie counts on ourselves to try and fit into some idea that we are not good enough until we are able to do this. And nobody ever says to her to stop. Like, Tom is like, "How do you know all these things?" She's like, "I just know it. Like, everybody, like, it's like your ABCs are doing math in your head." And he literally asks her, like, "What letter comes before J?" And she doesn't know. Because she spent so much time doing this. And I think for me, the first half of the book, especially when I first read it in high school, the first half of the book, I was like, "Oh my God, I totally understand. I'm gonna be an old spinster lady. This is gonna be awful." I'm like, I'm 18. I'm not going to be a spinster at 18. Well, unless I was in Pride and Prejudice, then I'd be a spinster at that point. But the baby making days are over when you're 18 in Jane Austen books. But you get to this one part and you realize, like, oh, yeah, no, this is the book about satire. Okay. Oops.
Yeah, I think at some point, two things came to mind. So the first one is, like, I think at some point she says that she's part of the cosmopolitan generation. Yeah. And that, like, I really understood, because growing up, whenever my mom had magazines, I'd read them when we were at the dentist office or getting our like hair done. Like, you're reading all those magazines, and they're all really, really horrible for women, and really, really horrible for young women, thinking that this is the expectation that you have to live up to. And, like, I remember one of them talking about how disgusting it is to bite your nails. And I've never been one to bite my nails. Like, it's just not something I do. But they had a picture of, I think, Jennifer Aniston, and it was her looking absolutely flawless and gorgeous on a red carpet. But then it was like one of those tight zoom ins on her hands, and you can see that she was biting her nails. And it was like, look how disgusting. And just like, holy shit, these are the levels that they're holding women's beauty accountable to. Like, she just has a couple broken pieces of skin on her fucking thumb, and because of that now she's just straight trash. It's just like, it feels an enormous amount of weight that you bear just to be considered pretty, but it's all false, and a lot of it is unfortunately something that, it's the whole bit about the patriarchy is a smog that we all breathe in. That even though these are women editors, women writers, they're still following these bullshit expectations of women placed by men. And it's just bred and continued and horrible. So at first, when you're hearing Bridget complain about being 132 pounds, or it's like, what, 9 stone 2?
Yeah.
It's the British version of weight, I guess. It's like, it sounds like witchcraft. They measure each other in stones. I don't understand it. So she's like 9 stone 2, completely pulling herself apart. Then she's got the whole bit about she has to like wax everywhere. And I really thought about back when I was single and getting ready before a date. It was like hours. It really was hours. And I would have like my mirror flipped over to where it's like the super mirror, and like looking at all of my pores, trying to figure out how to make them smaller with ice cubes. What the fuck? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Because we were told to.
Yeah,
because
we were told to.
And the thing is, I did find that line that you were talking about in the book, because
there you go.
I wrote it. I screenshotted it from my book. It's just wise people will say Daniel should like me just as I am, but I am a child of the cosmopolitan culture, have been traumatized by supermodels and too many quizzes, and know that neither my personality nor my body is up to it if left to its own devices. I can't take the pressure. I'm going to cancel and spend the evening eating donuts in a cardigan with eggs on it. And it was like, that sounds like a great night in.
I know. And it's funny because like inside her head is fun as a reader to like hear her, because it's just funny. She's very neurotic. And she kind of like, her thoughts represent all of my worst thoughts.
Yeah.
All of like the crazy things, like between when you just meet someone and you're already planning your wedding. Like those are the kind of crazy thoughts that you have. But then like her thinking that she's pregnant, her like worried about all of the calories and how she looks and the type of clothing that she wears. Oh my God. Wait a minute. The part when she talks about buying clothing, you and I have had that exact conversation.
Listen, this book is very triggering. Like, okay, this is what I wanted to touch on. When I read it when I was younger, because I sent Christina a message when we were doing this, and I was like, listen, I read this really young, and now I'm reading it again. Like, don't blame me. And I was like, I know you can't say that, oh, well, I read it really young. It's not an excuse to like the book. Or the movie. But listen. This book is triggering, and even in my 30s, the part about buying clothes hit so hard that I was just like, I hate myself right now.
I know. It hits so hard, and it's so accurate, because her struggle is that she hates trying on clothes, and she's intimidated by going to the nice stores to buy nice quality clothing, and it's going to cost a little bit more. So instead she goes and she gets the easy clothing that's cheaper. So she goes home with like 8 dresses, and she knows that instead of buying these like basically fast fashion, it's not what she calls it, but that's basically what she's talking about. She gets fast fashion instead of getting like quality items, and she hates herself for it, and then kind of regrets going shopping because the whole experience made her feel like shit. And I was like, wow, I didn't know I wrote this. Holy cow.
And every time I was reading that, and I was like, oh girl, that is me. I gotta stop buying stuff online. Like, I I spent all of 2020 and all of 2021 not buying myself anything.
Yeah, same.
And then December of 2021, when everything went on sale, I bought a bunch of really nice things that were dirt cheap. I don't know how to style them because I'm not used to wearing. I'm not used to wearing nicer things. And one of the things I bought is like a floor length dress. Where am I going? I haven't been invited to a ball. I'm not Cinderella. Where am I wearing this? Where am I going? To my couch? What possessed me to buy this? And I felt like that's something that Bridget does. She says right afterwards, she's like, it's just going to sit in that bag behind the couch until it's too late for me to return it. And then I've just wasted over $100 on stuff. And I was like, this is in my closet with the tag on it. And I've had it for like a month. What do I do?
You know what part really gave me anxiety because it was just too close to home was when she wants to host the dinner party and it's just the countdown until everybody arrives. And the whole time she's got the countdown where it's like, okay, 5:00, shopping, 5:30, prep this. Uh-oh, I forgot the eggs. Got to go back out. And the whole time she's not getting ready. I'm like, girl, you need to be getting ready right now. You need to be taking a shower and doing your hair. What are you doing?
She's neurotic in the best ways. Like, I definitely feel like if Bridget was an actual human being, we would be friends with her.
No, I don't think so. I think she'd drive us nuts because she's extremely like self-absorbed, which is part of like her charm as a reader is that she is self-absorbed and it's kind of funny because even though she talks to her friends about them, like she definitely does, it's just like a lot of times it ends up being about her and it's funny. Like I said, as a reader, it's funny. Well, like the whole bit about her thinking that she's pregnant and her friend calling her like a dumb ninny or whatever it is that she says, like it's funny. But at the same time, if that was your actual friend, it would get old real fast.
No, of that friend group, I'd be friends with Bridget over everybody else. Everyone else, they're all awful when you really get down to it. Especially like, you know, none of them really stand up for Bridget a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Like, no one's really... But then again, she doesn't really stand up for any of them either. But we don't really know because we don't really know all their problems. I mean,
it's like the bare minimum of friendship as shown.
Yeah, it's not a friendship like we have.
Aww.
We have a really good friendship. Aww. But it's one of those things, like, they do it really well in the movie when Bridget says that, you know, Darcy said that he likes her just as she is. And her friends are like, no nose job, no boob job, like you don't have to lose any more weight. And it's at that moment where you're like, is this what all of you think of me? You know what I mean? Like, that's when you know, like, you have really crap friends, Bridge. But I definitely think that Bridget, just how she tries. That's what I mean by the friendship. Like, I think that she is trying, but she's still at that point in her 30s where I think because she's never really had to do anything else. Yeah. Things just seem to be okay for her. They're never monumentally bad or good one way or the other. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why she is the way she is about her friendships and that she's probably never had to work really hard to keep them.
Well, it's the same problem that she has with everything else where her intentions are in the right spot, but she is more of a dreamer than a doer. Yeah. Like she has all these ideas of what she wants to do for herself and what she wants in life, but she doesn't, like she's counting calories, but she's not actually doing anything to eat less calories. Yeah. She, instead of having like healthy food, she instead eats one chocolate croissant, which is... It's going to set you up for failure, you know, like...
but she justifies it. It's all part of the different diets.
Right.
Like, that's where I found her to be the most fun, is that she is not a perfect person. She is the anti-hero in this book. Because you want her to find love, but at the same time you're like... Lord have mercy on any man who falls in love with Bridget Jones. You know what I mean? You're just like, Bridge, girl. Oh, stop. But then she'll do things like when she's with Daniel and he's like, the first night they're about to have sex, and he's like, oh, this is just for fun. You know that, right? And she's like, no, we're not doing this. Like, like, those are the few and far between moments with Bridget Jones where you're like, yes.
See now, and here's one of my problems. Probably like the only real problem I have with this book. Well, the first one is there's not, like, I don't know what the plot is exactly, but
it's just a year in the life of Bridget Jones. That's the plot.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those books. It's weird. It's like there's not exactly a plot. It's just like a year in a life, and then it's got a similar problem to isn't it Crazy Rich Asians, where there's not really an ending? It's like there's kind of an ending, but it's not quite an ending.
Yeah, it just kind of ends.
Yeah. One of my problems with the characters though in this is that women tend to do the thing that women do. And so I don't know if it's a problem. It's just annoying to see it happen because I know that I do it. Which is that things are said and then she like comes, well, I'll just go ahead and say it. So when she's with Daniel and Daniel says this is just a bit of fun, he's not exactly a bad guy for saying that. Like, casual sex is casual sex, and that's fine. If both people are cool with the casual sex, then it's cool. And he's not necessarily a bad guy for just wanting something casual. And it's good that she says no, but then she still chases him. Like, she is a little bit more of going after Daniel than I'd say, like, in the movie. She is... into him, and she knows that she shouldn't, and then she kind of gets mad that he ends up being exactly who he is, and that is a little annoying. It's like, well, you knew who he was since the beginning, and he was even pretty honest about it, and then of course he gets not so honest, but
well, he's kind of, sorry to interrupt, but he's really unpredictable in the book.
He is very unpredictable. He's a lot more hot and cold.
I think that's where Bridget going after him and then cooling off on him and then wanting to go back to him and cooling off on him. I think that's where it's understandable, because I think anyone who's been in a relationship where it, like, if even like workplace relationships with friends relationships, you know what I mean? Like, there's always, it's Daniel 1 minute is all over Bridget and wants nothing to do with anything else but her. And then the next minute he's just like, let's just stay inside and watch TV forever. And then the next one, he's like, I want to fawn all over you, Miss Bridget Jones. She's like, no, I don't. Like, you know, it's this back and forth volleyball game where they're never on the same page at the same time.
But that's like part of the frustrating part. Like, there's the part when she complains because she looks at him and he's just like reading in bed and then turns over to go to sleep, and she wants him to be like the sex god. But that's what a relationship is. Relationships aren't just like sex all the time. There's also the parts when you're just reading in bed.
I read in bed all the time.
I read in bed all the time.
That's all I do.
Doesn't mean other things aren't going on, if you know what I mean. But it's just, both things happen in a relationship, Bridget. Just get used to it.
I think that this is Bridget, like, they never explicitly state this, but I think this is Bridget's longest actual relationship.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be a falsehood.
Yeah.
Which is depressing. It's really sad what happens to Bridget with Daniel. I think that's awful that he does that to her.
I feel like in the book, I had trouble. Like, obviously I knew the names, but if you asked me to write down the personalities of like Daniel and Mark, they would be fairly short lists. Like, I don't think that they're like fully fledged characters compared to the other characters.
Yeah. Well, I like the way that Mark is written until we get to one really random part in the book. But I like the way that he is written because it is so Mr. Darcy from Pride
It's
and
very
Prejudice.
Mr. Darcy.
The whole standoffish, very like aloof type of rich guy. I'm all in.
I love it.
The thing that I do love about this book is that twice they make reference to the BBC Pride and Prejudice starring Colin Firth. And they also make reference to Hugh Grant in this book.
Yeah, it's funny.
And then to have them be in the movie, I was like, I see what you guys did there. But
I still have never seen the
oh my God,
BBC
Christina.
Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth.
Listen, we are going to read the book. You are going to watch the TV show. And everything is going to be different for you from now on.
I love Colin Firth too. I think he just looks like I should hug him.
Yeah.
Like he looks like a huggable guy.
He plays a good divorced man. You know what I mean? Like a man who's been cheated out of love. I mean, look at he plays the same character in Love Actually.
He does.
When you really think about it, same exact
same.
character. I just need to point that out.
Even the walk up the staircase and then it's all the same.
The big proclamation of love. Listen, we're gonna get to it. It's all the same. What we do need to talk about though is Bridget's awful mother.
Oh my God, the mom.
Bridget's mom in the book. This is where this part has the biggest departure from the movie. Like the movie and the book differ a lot, but this is astronomical. This might as well be on the other side of the world. That's how different this is. My God, Bridget's mom in the book. Flames on the side of my face.
On the side of my face. Okay, when the whole situation with her parents is first made known, at first, don't get mad at me yet.
Okay.
At first, I was all pro mom when it's like, listen, she had to take care of the house. She had to do the cleaning. She was robbed of a career. She had to, be the rock for everybody. And then he retired and she thought, okay, now we're going to split the job duties. And then he retires and then she still keeps doing everything she did before. So she never gets to retire. And then she decides to go off on her own. And this is the twilight of her life. And she only gets this time and she's going to make it happen. At first, I'm like, hell yeah, get it, bitch. Like, yes, this is good for you. But then... okay. Okay. A mixture of a lot of things started to happen. First, she's clearly the worst.
Yeah.
And then I felt so bad for the dad. And then it's pretty clear that they never really had like a conversation about all of this. Like everything that she did is only okay if she tried to explain that to him.
Yeah.
And she tried to find herself with him, and instead she does like just a really selfish thing and just leaves. She could have done all that stuff with the dad and with his support, and she didn't.
Yeah, it clearly comes across right away that there's this idea that she just got up in the middle of the night, was like, bye, just like walked out,
and that immediately she's with another guy.
Yeah. And she turns into flirty McFlirtface with every man. The tax guy, everybody. Anything with a penis, she was all about all of a sudden. It's very much like she got amnesia or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is also coincides with the part where I'm like, Mark Darcy's storyline suddenly like gets weird.
Yeah.
Like that Christmas and he bursts through the window. So Bridget's mom in the book, she's with a lot of different guys, but one of the main guys is this man named Julio, Julio Iglesias, who she like takes to like family functions. And that's where you feel bad for the dad. Like she is parading this guy around, and she's like, I feel so bad for him taking that. What did she call the other woman? The woman whose husband died of like carbon monoxide or something.
Oh, I don't remember what she calls.
I don't remember it either. But he takes her to a family function. She's like, what a pity that he did that. Blah blah blah. And it's like, how much of a jerk are you right now?
Yeah.
She looks her nose down on everybody.
Everybody.
Like, she goes into Mark Darcy's house and is like, ugh. Like, this is too showy, too much. Like, how much in your face does everyone have to be? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, woman, you are crazy. But, so yeah, she hooks herself up with this guy named Julio who turns out to be a swindler. And they swindle thousands from their friends. Even from Bridge. And then they run away.
That's like the other part that's bad about the mom is that some of the stuff that she talks about with Bridget is kind of funny. It's like Bridget is constantly going like, well, like what?
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh no, it's Podden. Like she's like doing the mom thing, correcting her with that kind of stuff, which is funny, but she's just like not a good mom.
No, she's not. She criticizes Bridget a lot.
Constantly. And of course, like Bridget, between having a mom like that and then all of the magazines and the culture, like of course she's going to tear herself apart constantly.
Very understandable. Like her mom's always talking down to her about everything, and then Bridget has to see her mom. Her mom basically tells her, like, if I had to do it over again, I would never have children.
Which is so crazy.
It's like, I'm sure that there are a lot of women out there who have kids who have thought that. I mean, I love my puppy Zuzu, but there have been times where it's like Jessie and I need to go somewhere and do something and we can't leave her at home. Yeah. And I've had that thought where I'm like, oh, it'd be so much easier if we didn't have her. But never like, you don't say that to the dog. You don't say it to the person. You know what I mean? Like, that's awful. She says it directly to Bridget. And not only that, but she constantly calls Bridget, and in the book, Bridget has a brother. She constantly calls Bridget and her brother, her dad's kids. She's like, I had to take care of his kids. And Bridget's like, we're your children too. Yeah. But the worst part about the whole situation is that Bridget's mom is just oblivious to everything. She feels like she does no wrong because she gets arrested for all of the drama. And she's like, what? No. Flirts her way out of prison time and then just waltzes home. She's like, what do you mean we don't have a house? It's like,
it's almost like Arrested Development.
Yes,
it's like Lucille Bluth is a character in this.
How much could a banana cost? Like, that's the whole thing. That's her the entire time to a T. Thank you for saying it. That is it. And that's the part where my skin crawls. Yeah. Because then on top of all of that, you think things are going back to normal with that family. Because she's back home. The dad's kind of like, okay, you know.
The ending of this book is like next level.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
The Christmas chapter, which is like 10 pages of one diary entry. And all I can think of is Bridget writing this diary entry down, like, what?
I thought the last chapter was just gonna be like her and Mark are on, because spoiler alert, they end up together. Yeah. Her and Mark like on holiday, for Christmas and New Year's, and it's gonna have like a nice book ending where it begins New Year's, ends New Year's. Oh, no.
No, apparently Mark has been hunting down Julio and tells Julio that Bridget's mom went home and is back sleeping with Bridget's dad. Julio goes crazy and breaks into their house on Christmas. It's literally, okay, you know what we haven't said in a while, Christina? This is a Genie in a Teapot.
It is I agree. This is a Genie in a Teapot.
This is a Genie in a Teapot situation. Yeah. Because it comes out of nowhere. Everything's normal and fine. And then he breaks in and this is where I'm really mad at the mom. She follows him upstairs.
Yeah.
And they definitely get it on upstairs.
So disgusting.
And then Mark Darcy runs in through the same broken window. And the reason we know that they get it on upstairs is because Bridget is able to get her mom to come downstairs while Julio stays upstairs and her shirt's on inside out and backwards. Good job, Bridget's mom. And then the police come in and arrest Julio. And the whole time she's just like, what is happening? Girl, he's a convicted felon. What do you think is going to happen?
It's so crazy.
It really is. It really is. Like, if Bridget's mom was an actual person and living in America, she'd definitely be an anti-vax, anti-masker. Do you know what I mean? She'd give off that kind of energy where she's just like, oh, this disease it's just the flu. It's just the flu. It's nothing. It's just a flu.
I can't now get the Lucille Bluth thing out of my head. Because it's even like Lucille sleeps with George's brother, like right next to him. Same thing.
Yes, that is it. That is exactly it. Oh my God. Oh my god. Now we need to redo Bridget Jones again. But with the mom, we need to redo Bridget Jones the movie, but a direct pages screen adaptation with this part in it, and the woman playing Bridget's mom is playing her like Lucille Bluth. Done.
See, I like that, and maybe this is a good time to switch over to the movie because
Yeah.
like I thought it was a wise decision to remove a lot of the mom drama.
Yeah. The book, like I said, is it's not a direct page to screen adaptation, and because the movie came out 5 years after the book, I think they did a really good job of changing up all the very problematic parts.
I agree. So so the movie is same name, Bridget Jones's Diary. It's 2001, directed by another female director. I always get excited when we have female directors on here, and this is I didn't even know it was a female director, so that's pretty cool. So directed by Sharon McGuire. Like I said earlier, it is co-written by Richard Curtis, but also written by Andrew Davies and the book's author Helen Fielding, and then starring. Hold on. So it's starring Renee Zellweger, Colin Firth, and Hugh Grant. So I'm looking at my notes for this film that I wrote on my phone, and I'm going to take a screenshot to post on our Instagram because it auto-corrected the cast as Rebe Zellweger, Colin Dirty, and Hugh Grant.
All of my favorite British actors and one American.
Colin Dirty is definitely a porno name.
That's a different kind of Pride and Prejudice. Oh, Jane Austen is rolling in her grave. My God, Colin Dirty. Where do we take it from there? That's also a different version of Love Actually. Dang. So you mentioned that this is a female director, and I'm sure you saw this note too in the trivia section of IMDb. The Bridget Jones film franchise, because there is 3 films. There's 4 books and 3 films. It's the first theatrical released movie trilogy directed exclusively by female directors, and it's the only romantic comedy trilogy of the new millennium. That means
Very cool.
It came out in theaters, because there was a lot of debate online about some other movies, but the way they calculated that is that most of the original cast came back for all 3 films. And they were all theatrical release. So that I thought was super interesting because it's, Bridget has her very problematic moments, but she is kind of I don't know, it's kind of like Sex and the City, you know what I mean? Like, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
They never claim to be perfect, but you can relate.
Yeah, and I think a big thing with Bridget Jones is that she's in on the joke. Like, she might be neurotic and self-absorbed, and she can be sloppy. She can be all of our worst tendencies, but she knows it, and she ultimately wants to be better, and she is still a kind person. She's not like a bad person. And part of my problem with Sex and the City, I've watched every single episode of Sex and the City, most of them multiple times.
And I
have huge problems with Carrie. It's just like she's a main character and she consistently does shitty things.
Yeah.
I don't think that Bridget is even half that bad. I think she's a lot more grounded and more girl next door, every girl. She's the every girl.
Yeah. I think watching the movie it's a completely different, it's such a different Bridget. It's just a different Bridget. And I think that a lot of people have probably seen the movie a lot more than they've ever read the book. And I'm going to jump ahead and say, I think the movie is better than the book.
I agree.
Just because, she is a warmer character. She's so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like, she gets really serious and she gets really full of herself in the book, but not so much in the movie.
Yeah, and I think because I know that there was a lot of controversy over Renee Zellweger because it is such a British book
Yeah.
story character, and she's obviously American, but I think she's great. I think that she feel like in movies when they have gorgeous Uma Thurman and they just put a brown wig on her, it's like, you're not exactly fooling me.
Yeah.
That's Uma Thurman. And I am fooled with Renee Zellweger. Like, she does look more like a normal person who happens to be very pretty than a movie star pretending to be a normal person, like she looks a little bit more average, and she has just a lot of heart, and she's just very likable. So when you see her doing these other things, it comes off more funny than like self-absorbed.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think a lot of people agreed because she had an Academy Award nomination for this.
I know.
Which blows my mind. I want everyone to sit and think about that for a minute.
This movie is covered in nominations, and like the BAFTAs loved them.
Yeah.
Like, this is a really cool movie because it's co-produced between America and the UK, so it got wide release and acclaim in both areas, and I don't necessarily disagree. I think that everyone in the cast, even the smaller characters, are all really good.
Yeah, the whole thing is great, and the entire cast, once again, we're all ended up in Harry Potter, so they did something right. Like, you've got Moaning Myrtle literally on a phone crying in a bathroom.
I was so happy to see her. She is one of those actresses that she's not like in a lot of stuff that I watch, but I just find her to be so fun when she actually is there. And she's also in what's her name? Oh, Shirley Henderson. She's the voice of Babu Frick in Star Wars. She is in Trainspotting. Yeah, she's Moaning Myrtle. Like, she's just so much fun. And then the chick who plays, what is it, Sharon?
Oh yeah, Shazzer.
Yeah, Sally Elizabeth Phillips. Did you watch Veep?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, she played. Okay. I was staring at her and I'm like, who is she? I know I've seen her, and she was in something and she was so funny. And I looked her up, and it's Veep. She is the Prime Minister of Finland, and she is so fucking funny in Veep. Like, I think you'll end up watching that show at some point because I think you'll like it. But her in that, like, she really shines.
Well, she's in a page-to-screen adaptation that we have discussed possibly doing. She's Mrs. Bennet in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yes, she is. Which is another Pride and Prejudice connection to Bridget Jones.
There's so many Jane Austen connections to this movie that it's insanity. It is insanity.
And in the Bridget Jones universe, it's like, what if Mrs. Bennet was on crack cocaine?
Yep. Yeah, so I guess no, I can't stop thinking about it. Just Bridge. In addition to the Academy and all the awards loving this movie, I love this movie.
I do too. Yeah.
Before we decided to do this, I had already watched it. I had literally watched it before we finalized what we were going to do, and then you were like, yeah, let's do that. And I was like, Jesse, I get to watch it again.
That's funny. You didn't tell me that. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. No, I love this. This is one of these, everyone has their comfort films,
Yeah.
And for me, I love a cheesy rom-com when I'm just not feeling my greatest because it always ends on a happy note.
Yeah.
I also love watching horror movies when I'm not feeling my greatest because at least a killer's not after me. But lately I've been in this really like, I only want to watch rom-coms situation when there's nothing else to watch. And that's why I watch Bridget Jones. And also, I think it can technically count as a Christmas movie since it takes, post-Christmas. Let me correct myself, post-Christmas.
This almost does kind of like a Steel Magnolias type of thing where it's a whole year, so you kind of see the different seasons. Like, I would argue that her in the bunny costume is for springtime and Easter.
It's also Meet Me in St. Louis without any singing or Judy Garland, so I what I love about this movie truly is within the first 15 minutes of the film, you know Bridget.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And I love when it's the opening credits and it's just her singing and playing the drums and just going all out in her living room.
I think everyone's been there.
Yeah.
Everyone's been in that situation right there where you're just kind of like, you're sad and then your song comes on.
Yeah.
And you can't help it. You got to go for it. I mean, that comes right after one of my favorite lines. when Colin Firth is talking to the woman playing his mother, and he calls Bridget a verbally incontinent spinster who drinks like a fish, smokes like a chimney, and dresses like her mother. And it is, the delivery for that is just so spot on. And then you see her behind his shoulder, and she goes, turkey curry, my favorite.
There is, like, with Renee Zellweger in this movie, there is this type of, like, fearlessness. I mean, when we talk about the joke of the 25 pounds and the joke of 9 stone to 132 pounds, there are a lot of actresses that would not gain 25 pounds and that would not have that ridiculous upskirt shot going down the fireman's pole and running in ill-fitting panties in the middle of an open street, and that opening of her singing to the opening credits, and she's going all for it with these like really borderline like rosacea looking cheeks. Like, I just love it, and I love that she's still Hollywood pretty, but she's also kind of just like letting loose, and she really is kind of showing like those moments that women don't want you to see, and I appreciate it, and I don't feel like it feels fraudulent. It's not Anne Hathaway with frizzy hair. It's like, no, like this does actually feel real.
Yeah, it doesn't feel forced at all. It's the ugly pretty that everyone tries to achieve, but few can, and I think Renee does it to a T.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait. I just talked about Meet Me in St. Louis and Judy Garland. She plays Judy Garland. Look at that connection.
And I liked when, because she can sing, so when she's singing, I do think that there is a gift that good singers have to sing poorly.
Oh my
like,
goodness,
I think
yes.
only the best singers can fake it that well.
And that's, when she is singing, that's when we're first introduced to Daniel Cleaver. And his introduction, the opening of the elevator door, and then that super cocky look on his face tells you everything you need to know about him. And Daniel Cleaver in the movie is not as wishy-washy at all as he is in the book. And their relationship is really short, which I think is better than the long one that they had, because the long relationship they have back and forth, when he does what he does in the book, it's so much more heartbreaking. And then all of a sudden she's just kind of like, I'm going to be over it. And you're like, no, I think that after spending half a year with a guy, you might feel a little bit different. But in the movie, the relationship is it's like a whirlwind. And it's this...
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it fits better with Bridget's mind and how Bridget comes up with things in her brain. Like, she's referring to him as her boyfriend and says, I love you.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for either of those things to have happened at that point. Like, it's really not clear that he's into her in that way. So when she does it in the movie, it's a little bit more like, oh, she's being stupid. And then when she says, like, but you just met her, and then you realize the gut punch of, no, they've had a thing going on for a while, you feel stupid as the audience member, because the movie's presenting it in a way where you shouldn't trust Daniel, but you're rooting for Bridget. So when it happens, it's more of a gut punch, I think.
Yeah. There is one part about their relationship that I always think is so fun and so cute. And that's when they go for their holiday and they're
In the boats.
yes,
I
and
love the boat
they're
scene.
reciting poetry to each other, and they're both in separate boats. I'm like, this is the cutest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I think makes it even cuter is that you have Colin Firth, who's also on vacation with Natasha. Ugh, gag. My real feelings on that. And
I love that actress though. She's the
She
one
is.
in Matilda and Junebug. Like,
Yeah.
I get happy whenever I see her.
she's a great actress, but she plays a vile character, ruining love for everyone.
A very
Natasha.
boring character.
Yes.
Stupid, boring.
Well, they
girl.
are boring because the two of them are also in the boats and they're going over like legal stuff. But what's so cute is when Colin Firth looks over
I know.
and she's laughing, and it's like you could probably hear his inner monologue being like, I want to make her laugh like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh my God, it crushes me.
I want to know if you agree with me on this one. I said it to Carlos too. You know how in Fight Club we said that that's peak Pitt?
Yeah.
I think that this movie is peak Grant.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah. Well, because this came out, like, everyone's gonna probably fight us on this and be like, no, his peak was probably like, I don't know, Love Actually or whatever.
Disagree. It's definitely not Love Actually.
not
I think
Love
Love Actually is right after peak. I
Yeah.
think this movie here, this moment in time, is peak Hugh Grant.
Yeah, this is perfect Hugh Grant. This is both sweet and awful Hugh Grant. Do you know what I mean?
And the worst man alive.
Yes. He is everything all rolled into one, and you're just like, you hate to be enamored by him.
Yeah.
Because he's just so good. He's just so good in this role. And it's everything you want from this character all rolled into one, you know?
Well, he's got the classic thing. It's the same thing that people joke about. What is it? 30 Shades of Grey? 50 Shades of Grey. I gave a 20% discount.
We're not going to go all the way, just part way there.
Is that even 20%? I don't math people. Okay. That's what calculators are for. As I twirl my hair. Wait, so the joke about 50 Shades of Grey is that if that was your boss, and he did all those things, but he's not good looking, everybody would consider him a creep. And so like Hugh Grant looks like Hugh Grant and talks like Hugh Grant, but when she says, no, I need to get a taxi, and then he makes the charming little joke like, oh, well, let's just go back to my place and, have sex all night. Like the way he says that is charming because Hugh Grant is saying it. But if it was some guy who said that, you'd slap him in the face.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think, like, everything he says to Bridget is kind of like, it is really, like, wrong. Like,
yes.
They go out to dinner and he's like, tell me about how you practice French kissing with a...
Yeah.
And she was like, that didn't
happen.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, tell it to me anyways.
Because I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Curve. Yeah.
Yeah, ew, gross. Like, what are you doing? But we all take it as like a jokey thing, you know what I mean? Like, oh, look at how handsome and cute he is. And he's like holding doors open for her and telling her she's pretty and not making fun of her giant underwear.
And again, I like that part. I think that part's cute when she forgets about the underwear and then he's like good with it anyways.
Yeah, it's sweet. He has these amazing moments. And I think, honestly, I do think that Daniel really did like Bridget because she's not complicated.
I just rolled my eyes at you.
I know you did. But, like, no, like, listen, it's not like he likes her for the right reasons. I think he likes her because she's not complicated.
I think he likes her because she's connected to a vagina. That's all he wants. He's just a dirty guy who wants to sleep with a lot of women.
No, I know, but I think that there is something a little bit more to it because if he just wanted to sleep with a lot of women, he wouldn't have shown up to her house on her birthday. He wouldn't have remembered her birthday.
When he does that, it's shitty because he says, I don't know why I assumed you'd be alone.
Yeah, that is a crappy line. It is crappy.
So he assumed that she was going to be alone and sad in her apartment on her fucking birthday.
Yeah.
So he just saw her as an easy target.
I don't know. I mean, yes and
Don't
no.
get sucked into his
I'm not
charms,
getting,
Nicole.
I can't. It's Hugh Grant. I'm trying. I'm trying not to. Notting Hill. Jesse's gonna be like, why are you screaming about Notting Hill? Oh, travel bookstores. Oh my god.
I think here's what I think. I think that like the fun thing about Daniel, Mark, Bridget, I think all three of them are victims. They're victims of the cosmopolitan era. They're victims of toxic masculinity. And Daniel is the active villain because he doesn't recognize it. He will forever be Daniel until Daniel decides to not be Daniel. And Daniel is a problem. Whereas Bridget and Mark are these like victims of the society that recognize it. And the fact that they find each other is so sweet and cute.
Well, Daniel is the ultimate villain because Daniel Cleaver slept with Mark's wife.
I feel so bad for Mark.
It is awful. It is horrendous. They gotta stop doing this to Colin Firth. Just let him be happily married in a film. Hey, movie people, let him be happy. You know, like, could you just, like, give it a shot once? And not, like, happy at the end happy. Like, happy from beginning to end would be really great for my self-esteem.
It's like, there's the British Colin Farrell. I can't get Colin Firth's name right. Colin Dirty, Colin Farrell. No, there's the British Colin Firth, and then, like, the American version, I guess, is James Marsden. Like, he always plays the fiance that doesn't get the girl constantly. Like, why can't they just have happiness?
They should just be happy throughout the entire film for once. Like, that's why we look at those, like, they're both in the same category of, like, you look at them and you said earlier, I just want to give him a hug. It's because they keep getting sad, like sad roles. They're never happy. I mean, once again, we're going to talk about Love Actually. The beginning to Love Actually, she's sleeping with his brother? What is this?
Well, and it's sad with Bridget Jones because the whole time he's got these big brown puppy dog eyes and he's staring at Bridget with Daniel. And you know that in his head, he both has these feelings for Bridget, but then he hates to see her with Daniel.
Yeah. And all of that comes to a head at Bridget's birthday party in my favorite scene of the entire movie when they fight. I could just watch that scene on YouTube. Like, it is funny. It is cute. It is when Bridget's friend runs over to the restaurant.
There's a fight outside.
It's a fight. A real fight.
I wasn't expecting that scene and I enjoyed it the whole time. And my favorite part is when they're in the restaurant and the waiter, oh God, I can't even tell it without laughing. The waiter has that giant birthday cake and then they stop fighting to sing happy birthday.
And Colin Firth is just like, happy birthday, whatever your name is.
And then they go flying through the window. Oh, God, it's so good.
It is a scene that is so, like, you're watching this whole movie and it's so traditional rom-com and you're just like, okay, whatever. Fight. Like, what? It comes so far out of left field that you don't, because that's not in the book.
It's not. That's why I didn't expect it.
It's like they took all the drama with the mom and just put a big fist fight in with these two guys. And it's one of those, what's great about it too is immediately afterwards, Bridget is upset with both of them. She's not happy with either guy because think about it. You have two guys who are fighting over you, which feels nice, but it's your birthday. They just destroyed the restaurant across the street from where you live. Now you can never go back there and eat because you're the girl who ruined their window. And then on top of that, they're fighting over something so, like, they're fighting over something super serious. But then, you know, Mark is mad at Bridget because Bridget's mad that Mark hit Daniel. And then afterwards, Daniel is all like, come on, let's go back inside. And she's like, no, Absolutely not. And like that is the turning point for Bridget.
And isn't that the last time that is it that no. Oh, the last time you see Daniel in the movie is at the office.
No.
Yes.
That's the last time we see him.
Yeah.
She
Wait,
leaves.
is it? No, it's at the office.
No, she's done. She's done already with him by that point at the office. She's already working on television at that point.
But wait, so is the last shot of him isn't him covered in glass though? It's at the office. Oh wait, no, you're right. I got it so confused.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I watched it this morning. I don't know why I'm getting confused. But even when he's laying in the street and he's covered in glass,
Yeah.
you still like him.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
You still want to take care of him. Bridget was even like, I don't know who to root for in this fight. You know? And you're just like, oh, I guess none of us know who to root for in this fight. And then the fight ends and you're like, ugh, yeah, no. You know, chuck him. He's awful.
The only part of the movie that I thought felt a little, and it might be because it like goes away from the book. Well, a lot of it goes away from the book, but the scene where it's at Mark's family's house and then it's kind of announced that he's going to be going to America and he's going to be marrying that girl.
Yeah.
That part did feel kind of weird. It felt like it was one of the least believable moments in a movie filled with unbelievable moments, you know?
Yeah, because it's kind of like they tried to take too many bits from the book that didn't make it in yet. Because there is, Mark's parents do have their ruby wedding in the book. But at that point, Bridget's mom is still with Julio in the book, and she comes to it with him. Bridget goes with it with her dad. But they also added in the part where Mark is hiding from the Natasha person in the book. And they meet up and he talks to her, not the other way around. Because he asks her out at the Ruby thing. And he's not engaged to her in the book. So they added a lot of stuff. And I think they added in that little bit for a little bit more drama to make it like, is she actually going to end up alone?
Right.
Like, is this going to be one of those movies where we come full circle and she hasn't learned anything, she hasn't changed, and she's going to just, like, literally, like she said, she's going to be eaten by dogs.
I do like when it cuts to that and you see the dogs next to her. No, or the book, it could have ended with her being content, not with men. Yeah. But I think that is far too progressive of a thought for them to have entertained in 2001.
Yeah, if it had been made today, I think we would have had, I think after Mark left for New York, I think she would have been like, you know what? I'm also going to go on an adventure of my own. And then we would have had, like, how Bridget got her groove back.
Can I just say, by the way? Okay.
Yeah. Say it.
I'm going to say it.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so Hugh Grant might be peak Hugh Grant and everything, but there is something so much sexier about the quiet, reserved, sad boy in the corner that I just love. And he's got like the curly hair and the dark eyes. And then at the end when they kiss and then she goes, well, wait a minute, nice boys don't kiss like that. And then he goes, oh yes, they fucking do. And then he grabs her. I was like, yes.
Because it's what you're waiting for the whole time. The whole time.
That was so good. I needed a fan to oh, that was good.
That's the Austinism in the movie. Like, that is peak Austen. Because, you know, a lot of people will talk about the remake of Pride and Prejudice, where it's Keira Knightley, and he holds her hand and helps her into the carriage.
I love that part.
Yeah. Everybody talks about that. This is the kissing version of that handheld. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where you're just kind of like, you've been waiting. There's so much tension and you're just waiting. And it finally happens and you're just like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? Like, when he says that, I cannot stop smiling.
I know, me too. I'm just smiling. I was smiling watching it, and I'm smiling thinking about it because we're programmed to respond to the toxic Daniels. We're programmed to look at the Daniels with the nice hair and the nice suits and the powerful position and go, like, that's the guy. But the guy who's, like, quiet and emotionally intelligent and sweet and smart and funny and likes you for you and then has, like, the quiet cockiness, like the quiet peacock inside of him. Like, that's the one that it just, oh, I love
That's
it.
the one we married.
Yeah.
I think he just described both of our husbands, so that was...
So instead of gentlemen prefer blondes, it's like ladies prefer Darcys.
Ladies prefer Colin Firth. Every
a weird film.
single time. Listen, there is something we need to, okay, we're going to do Pride and Prejudice. We're going to do it. But we need to immediately follow it up with Austen Land, the book and the movie, because this whole thing's going to come full circle, and it's going to be chef's kiss when it finally happens. Like, it's going to be amazing. There's just something, you can't take your eyes off of him in that movie. You can't take your eyes off of Colin Firth in any movie, but particularly with Bridget Jones. He's even wearing that reindeer jumper at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And then later on, he's wearing the tie with the snowman on it, and it's just like, if there is nothing this man cannot wear, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I don't care.
I love when they bump into each other, and he almost looks kind of like Darcy-ish. Like, his hair is... He's got that, like, kind of thick, curly hair that for most of the movie just looks like normal, but in that scene, it's sort of, like, up. And then he's got that collar that's open. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's very much, like, period looking. Yeah. It's, like... And then she even makes fun of him and says that he should trim his sideburns. I'm like, don't you fucking tell him to do that. Keep the sideburns. They look great.
Yeah, don't tell him to do anything.
Yeah.
Shut up, Bridget. Right. You're wrong, Bridget. You're wrong. Yeah, he's just so good. Oh my God, I could talk. This is just me. This whole episode is just me being like, "Hey, Colin, you look really good in sweaters."
He does look good in sweaters. I wrote that down.
Every movie. Okay, I want everyone to just watch a movie with him in it. He's always wearing a sweater, and he always looks great. And I just can't. I can't. No one else wears a sweater like him. Sweater should only be reserved for him. He should be the only man in the world who can wear a sweater.
I disagree. I think that, and I'm looking at the poster right now, Chris Sarandon, Fright Night sweaters. He wears the fuck out of a sweater.
I thought you were also going to bring up Chris Evans, Captain America, Knives Out sweater.
Knives Out. My favorite, I don't know if I said this before in the podcast. I don't think so, but the hysterical part about Knives Out is that it's Chris Evans and it's Captain America. And this poor costume designer had to think, how do I make Chris Evans not look like Captain America? Yeah. And baby girl, that white sweater's not enough.
Oh, no. That sweater just enhanced it.
It really does.
Enhance. Listen, I think we've just switched over from a Page to Screen podcast to a Men Who Wear Sweaters.
No, but even Colin Firth in Love Actually, there's a scene where he puts on a sweater. Yeah. So clearly the camera loves him in a sweater.
He looks so good in sweaters. Jesse's gonna listen to this and be like, okay then. So I guess the thing that we do need to talk about is the big change between Bridget's mom in the book and the movie, because we haven't
such a nice change, if you ask me.
It's kind of like the same situation where she's upset. You know, she wants to live out her years doing something that she's proud of, blah, blah, blah. She ends up hooking up with this, like, QVC jewelry seller guy. Yeah, and she's, just like in the book, she's on television, but she's not doing the garbage TV that she's doing in the book. She's, like, the on-air model for jewelry for this guy that she's sleeping with. And he is so tan.
He's so tan. He reminds me of like Matt Berry, Toast of the Town, but with a tan.
Like my favorite part is like when she comes back at the end. Like he becomes super insane, super crazy. She's not gone for nearly as long. And she comes back into the house and she's like, he was starting to turn purple.
Oh, and wait, and the dad is played by Jim Broadbent.
Yep. We've got all the Harry Potters.
All the Harrys.
All the Harry Potters are in this.
No, but I love him. I love him, and I think that he plays the dad really well because you feel for him.
Yeah.
And part of me like doesn't like that they get back together because it's almost like that thing where the woman who wants more gets just sent back to where she was. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's not necessarily like the best lesson, but she's just so incredibly unlikable in the book that it's just a welcome change.
Yeah. I'm okay with her coming home at the end of the movie. And the other thing with the dad in the movie too, he's not nearly as inconsolable.
Yeah.
As the dad in the book. And I think it's because she's probably not gone. She doesn't seem to be gone nearly as long as she is in the book. In the book, she's gone like the whole year.
You're right.
And at least in the movie, it feels like she's only gone maybe like 2.5 months.
Yeah.
You know, it's still a long time.
It's still a long time.
I don't know time anymore. I'm trapped in a weird bubble. I don't even know what day it is. Yeah, I will say I thought it was interesting looking at the trivia for this movie and seeing all the other people that they thought could play Bridget.
Yes.
I will say there's maybe 2 people on this list.
Well, did you see My Girl was listed?
Which one?
Toni Collette.
I did see Toni Collette.
I love her so
Toni
much.
Collette would have been great. And Kate Winslet, I think, would have been great.
Yeah, so I saw Kate Winslet and I thought that was interesting because she was too young to have done it when the movie came out, but give her like another 5 years, I think she would have been great.
But can we talk about the obvious names on this list who should have never been considered for this role?
Rachel Weisz.
Oh, too pretty. Tilda Swinton. Too pretty.
Tilda Swinton is just too Tilda Swinton.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Catherine Zeta-Jones is going to be Bridget Jones. I'm sorry.
No
Can
way.
we pause for a minute? Look at Catherine Zeta-Jones and then read the description of Bridget. She's 132 pounds. She smokes like a chimney, drinks all the time, and swears like a sailor. You're going to tell me that Catherine Zeta-Jones... What are you going to do? Put glasses on her? This isn't Superman. Just because you put glasses on someone doesn't make them ugly. I wear glasses and I don't think I'm ugly.
And wasn't Mask of Zorro 1998? I would bet money that Mask of Zorro was 1998, which means that they would have been filming this movie only like 2 years after that. And that is peak Catherine Zeta-Jones out of a wide, like 2 decades of her being peaking. It's like peaking out of a peak. So the idea that is Bridget Jones, it's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
No,
she is. There is no way Daniel Cleaver would not have stayed with her at that point. There is no way she would have ever landed Mark Darcy. Let's get real. There's no way she would have ever been home alone on a Friday night singing Celine Dion. You just can't see it. It's just not a thing.
It's like, you know that part in Bridesmaids when it's the other best friend and it's at the end and she's like, yeah, you look really ugly when you cry.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, I don't. I know I don't. Like, and she doesn't. She still looks great. That's like Catherine Zeta-Jones. It's like, I can act ugly. Can you though? Because I don't think you can.
I don't think she can. Like, it's insane, the spectrum. I mean, they have Nicole Kidman on here, for Christ's sakes. Nicole Kidman's on this list for people to play the every woman. I don't think Selma Blair could probably pull it off. But even then, she's still not the every woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with Kate Winslet is so gorgeous and she's so pretty. But you've seen her like when I think about Little Children or even Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, like you see her looking like you believe that that is a wife. You believe that that is
Yeah.
a single woman who works at a Barnes and Noble. And she's a Hollywood version, so she's like the prettiest version of all of us. And if she was standing in front of you, it would be like a knockout. But from a movie translation, it works.
Yeah.
So I could see her working, but in a few years after this was made.
Yeah. I would say the spectrum is bizarre because, like, on the one side, you have too pretty. You have, like, Catherine Zeta-Jones. You have Cameron Diaz, Nicole Kidman. Too pretty. Then you have your mid-range, which are people I actually think could have done it. You know, Toni Collette, Kate Winslet. Definitely not Rachel Weisz. Sorry, she's still in the too pretty section. The girl who plays Shazzer could have done it. And she would have been fine, you know what I mean? And then
She would have been funny.
You have the other end where it's just like, I'm sorry, you wanted Helena Bonham Carter to be the every woman in this? Think about that one for a minute. Like, because Fight Club would have just come out.
Yes. Right.
So we're talking about Fight Club Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Falling in love with Colin Firth, okay? Just think about it. Just think about Fight Club's Helena Bonham Carter kissing Colin Firth. Just in a sweater.
You know who I think would have been a really good Bridget?
Who?
But she's not like a household name. It's Lucy Punch. She is the chick who plays the actress in Hot Fuzz. And she's in The 10th Kingdom too. She's like one of the townswomen.
Yes.
Look up a picture of her, and she actually kind of looks like Renee Zellweger in a weird way.
I love that you just pulled in The 10th Kingdom. Oh, you got me. You know what a niche market that one is. Thank you.
Well, listen, I also try to speak to the crowd I'm talking to, and you're my crowd right now.
Because I'm the only one here.
I would not, if I was talking to Carlos, I would not list out the 10th Kingdom. Just stick to Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. So then if they were to remake this, which, you know, there's a lot of movies that we talk about on this podcast where I'm like, do not touch this. I feel like if they were to remake this, Colin Firth could still play his own character. But say we Americanized, we did the unfortunate American thing, or we Americanized Bridget Jones, because the way things are going now, a lot of movies are becoming TV shows. You know, like we have First Wives Club TV show. We had oh my God, whatchamacallit? With Zoe Kravitz. Why
High
am I trying
Fidelity.
to... Yes.
Yeah.
You know, if this were to be Americanized, which I don't think it should, who would you pick to fill the three main roles?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that Darcy could be played by Paul Rudd. Because I want to put him in
Paul
everything.
Rudd can play everybody, but I think that's too obvious. I think that's too obvious because the minute you see Paul Rudd, it's like, well, yeah, I hope she gets with him. I mean, it's almost like he's reprising his Clueless character in a way. Like, it's just him doing that again. Like, the thing I like about Colin Firth is that he does kind of come off as an asshole earlier on. And he talks shit about her, and he's just kind of, like, looming in a corner somewhere. Like, it's obvious, but it's not obvious.
Yeah. Ugh, I love Colin Firth. He actually if we Americanized it, he would just play the part again. Who am I kidding? He would just play his own part.
I think that there can be a page to screen drinking game, and someone can take a shot every time I say something needs to be a TV show, just because I think that TV works. And with Bridget Jones's Diary, I think that this movie is better than the book, and I really like the movie. Yeah. I don't necessarily think it needs to be redone or anything like that, but I can see them wanting to touch the product again, since we've now had 3 movies, and I don't think there will be any more, just to make money off of it.
Yeah.
And I would really not be against a Showtime Bridget Jones series, whether it's still in the UK or it's over here. I think that's actually a decent idea, as long as you look for another Renee Zellweger. Like, I don't want to see Zendaya as Bridget Jones. Like,
No.
I want to see someone who is not a supermodel. Like, I want it to be kind of grounded. I would be all for it.
You know who could do it? Let me look it up. If they were to do this, because I would watch it, like a Netflix, HBO, you know, one of those sort of situations. And I think it should still be set in England. But Nicola Colin, is that her last name? I don't know. She's on Bridgerton. She was on Dairy Girls. I think she could be a good Bridget. She's funny. I really like her as an actress. I think she could do it.
Okay, so based off of what you just said, I looked it up and it gave me Nikola Kolovic, who is a basketball player from Belgrade.
No.
I don't think this is her.
No, that's, I mean, if you
This
want
is a
basketball player-
6'10" man.
Here, hold on. I'm going to say, just call him a man. Oh, this is great. Great content for the podcast. Here, I just sent it to you.
The link that you sent me in our chat is right next to that picture, that selfie I took of me that I sent to you. Oh, you know what? She looks familiar too.
Yeah. She's been in some stuff. And, like, I can see her being a good new Bridget. Because I wouldn't even mind if we did something, you and I, created this show. And it was kind of like, remember when Candace Chanel did, like, the Carrie Diaries, and it was young Carrie leading up to all that stuff?
Yes.
I wouldn't even mind seeing a little bit of Bridget before she reached her 30s.
Yeah.
Because, like, she already has a history with Mark Darcy. We know that. So,
Yeah.
because, like, what, she used to play in his paddling pool.
And I thought, by the way, in the end credits, it's like a home video of young Bridget playing in the pool, and I don't know, I thought that was really cute.
It was cute. But did you look up the credits, the European credits?
Yeah, I saw that there's like a whole list of various credits in different countries.
I ended up watching the European credits because I had seen, like I said, I've seen this movie like 100 times. I didn't even know that they had different credits. So I watched the end credits, the European end credits. And they could have done a mix, I think, of the US credits with the home video of the two of them mixed in with some of the stuff, because it's like interviews with like Daniel, and Daniel's at a bar with like different women every time they cut to him doing his interview bit. And it's so funny. I was like, why would you cut that? That's so cute.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What do you know?
Yeah, come on. It should have just, the end credits should have just been Colin Firth in different sweaters. I have a problem.
That's so funny. Where's the lie? Where is the lie?
Yeah.
Show me him looking bad in his sweater, because I've seen him in the reindeer one and it looked great.
Yeah. It looked amazing. Made me want to buy a reindeer sweater. Come on.
Oh my God.
What?
I just found something.
Oh, drama. What'd you find?
I am going to send it to you in our chat. Hold on just a second. What is better than Colin Firth in a sweater? What if I were to tell you it's Colin Firth's on a sweater?
Oh my God, shut up. Shut up.
Your birthday is right around the corner, Nikki.
I would wear this everywhere. You know what the problem is with living in New York? Is that I would choose to wear this sweater, and I'd go to like a dentist appointment in Manhattan, and I would end up walking right by him. And it would be the most embarrassing moment of my life. Like, I've never been dressed properly when I actually see someone famous.
And I would argue that's a very Bridget Jones moment.
am I gonna have a meet cute with Colin Firth? I should let him
I
know
think
I'm married,
so.
right?
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, I think we just wrote a meet cute for you and Colin Firth, and you are 100% married.
I am 100% married. I just need to keep saying that when I meet him. Just like, I am 100% married. I am 100% married. It's like,
And then you're saying that to him, and then he goes, "Ma'am, I'm not Colin Firth."
oh my goodness. Hallmark, buy this movie.
You're just a psycho.
Yes. And that's how the horror movie starts. But okay, no. Serious time though. Serious.
Yes.
Now we're at the end of the book. We've talked all trash about Colin Firth. We've talked all the trash about Hugh Grant. We know that they made a better choice than Catherine Zeta-Jones. We both agree the book is better than the movie.
Yes.
But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time to add it to the book list.
Yes. I honestly, I really enjoyed Bridget Jones, and I really surprised myself by how much I loved the movie. I found myself laughing and smiling through the whole thing.
It's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
So we have decided. The current standing is Cinderella in first place, Bridget Jones in second, and has Stella Gutter Grubeck in third. And I think this is a strong. It's weird. Like the first 3 books of the year are all about like these ladies kind of trying to do it for themselves a little bit. You know what I mean?
We really didn't plan that either.
No.
It just kind of happened.
It was very accidental, but you know what? We are changing things up from last year. Last year we had some mistakes.
Missteps.
We had some oopsie daisies. But we're fixing that now. But I'm so glad you ended up enjoying Bridget Jones, because I know that like the rom-com-y type stuff isn't what you generally gravitate towards first.
Well, I think the rom-com market in the 2000s got completely oversaturated. It's like they knew that they had gold with Julia Roberts and all of that nonsense, that they just kept making these rom-coms over and over and over again. And I just got really tired of them growing up and being in high school and all of those shitty Katherine Heigl movies. But when you watch a good romantic comedy like this is, or like Crazy Rich Asians last year, it just gives me a lot of positive feelings, and it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
I mean, the payoff with Colin Firth and her kissing is such a good payoff. I can't argue against that.
It's probably like one of the best. Besides the fight scene, it's probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
It's up there with, I hope this isn't going too big, but for me it's up there with the ending of possibly the greatest romantic comedy, Pretty Woman, when she says she saved him right back and then they kiss. It's like that good.
It is. I would put it up there. I would definitely put it up there.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like they say in The Princess Bride, you know, there are some of the greatest kisses, you know what I mean? Like, I think,
yeah.
and I would put this is definitely up there.
Now
it feels
I will
real,
ask you
too.
this. Have you read or watched the sequels?
I have watched every sequel. I think I read them all, though.
As I sit here, I do not want to watch them because I really enjoyed this movie and I feel like they'll ruin it.
Yes. I will say this about I've seen the second one, was it Edge of Reason, a couple of times. And I've only watched, was it Bridget Jones's Baby once, and I hated it.
Really?
Edge of Reason is basically everything from the first one. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same complicated. It's basically like Persuasion. You know, if you know your Jane Austen, the basic plot. Spoiler alert: the basic plot is Bridget's friends are trying to like, Mark works with this really beautiful woman in his office, and Bridget's friends are trying to convince her that she should break up with him because they all think that he's cheating on her with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like Bridget's back to being crazy and neurotic, even though she's finally found someone who likes her just as she is. And she can't get over her own neuroses about it. They also do kind of like, you know, they show her butt on TV in Bridget Jones, and then in Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason, they make her, like, skydive for some reason.
Yeah, so it's like the bad sequels that just remake the first movie with a different filter.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's back in it, too. So you have, like, Colin Firth, Hugh Grant, Renee Zellweger. It's just not as much fun. And I think it kind of spoils that ending kiss.
Right, and I want to hold on to that. Yeah. I want to hold on to it.
Keep it in a snow globe close to your heart and shake it up when you need it.
Yeah. A shake.
A shake. But, yeah, I guess now's a good time to talk about our departure from our very female-centric films.
Hell yeah.
I'm very excited. I did not know this was a book. I'm a very big fan of this movie. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but we're going to talk about it. We are doing The Commitments.
Whoop.
Have you seen the movie?
I watched the film when I was probably like 11.
This is one of Jesse's favorite movies.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It is. I love this movie. I just started the book. I'm kind of excited. I'm pumped. I don't know what to say. I'm pumped.
I only remember two things about the movie, other than it being Irish. They're Irish, right?
Yes.
Okay. Starting out strong, Christina.
You got this.
Okay. I remember the lead singer is like a redheaded guy, and I want to say he might even be the guy in Sleepy Hollow, but I don't know that for sure. So I might just be like redhead racist and think that they're the same person.
Do all redheads look the same to you?
And I remember there's a part where he gets jealous about like the female singers. And then the only other thing I remember is that they have a sign that they put up that says like stop heroin, but it's not spelled correctly. Yeah. It's like heroin instead of heroin, you know?
Oh my God.
That's it. That's all I remember.
We're going to have so much fun with this one. The soundtrack's amazing. Like, we're going to have so much to talk about. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But that's coming soon, everybody. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening this week.
Thank you to Jesse.
Yes, as always. He's my Colin Firth.
Aw, so cute.
Oh, I know. Ugh, blah. I just vomited everywhere. And thanks as always to you, Christina.
Aw, thank you, Nikki. I would sit on a park bench and talk to you all day. No.
That never gets old. I like you just the way you are. So, until next time, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.